And we're live. Look at that. I made a
Yay.
two-person layout that works, kind of. Top of the screen's a little cut off.
Very
I just
nice.
noticed that, but it's not terrible. We can deal with it.
Yeah, that's fine. It looks fine.
Yep. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ready Set Data. I am O'Grady, software engineer, and on my left, I think, if you're looking at the screen, is Lee,
Yes.
database administrator extraordinaire. Um, yeah, we have a great topic tonight. We're going to be talking about, well, Lee's going to be leading us and talking about burnout in the workplace. And yeah, how's everything going in
Yeah.
general with you? I wasn't here last week. I should address that. Real life computer fires come up. Literally, like, thought my computer would be on fire.
Wow.
Yeah,
Um,
it was bad. So, all good
yeah,
now.
so I'm glad your computer is good. It's kind of obviously that's a traumatic thing for a person in IT to think that
Yeah,
uh
and it was my work computer, not my streaming all that computer. So I was like, I can't let this sit for more than tonight. So I'm like, it has to get done. There was no.
right. Um, no, I mean I think last night went pretty or last week went pretty well.
Yeah.
And um had me and Anthony on a different platform, StreamYard, and that was kind of interesting and fun to try that.
Yeah. So it looked good.
Um,
I like
yeah,
the look of
thanks.
it. Kind of everything seems crisp. Didn't seem laggy or anything like that. I like it. Oh, Liam,
Nice.
thanks. I did get my hair cut. I guess I should address that too. I cut about 8 inches off, but you
Yeah.
know, it's getting annoying.
I
I have a disc golf tournament on Saturday, and going like this every 5 seconds when trying to throw a disc to get the hair out of my face is just, yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, that'd be a problem for sure. I hadn't really thought about it, but this kind of goes really well with the whole quiet quitting topic that we
It
did
does.
like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Which, yeah,
We're
because
not,
burnout is something that leads to a quiet quitting mentality. Um,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So while we're not necessarily, we can fill in with quiet quitting information if we want, or topics or ideas, but what I kind of wanted to do tonight is just kind of walk through as quickly as we can, because it's going to be like a 40-ish minute session or stream tonight.
mhm.
Is just where how I realized that I was kind of burned out and what I did about it. And
Okay.
so um, for everybody in the stream, not to give away the content necessarily, but here's a blog post about
Say it's always nice
that
to have
topic.
something to kind of follow along with, you know. I'm sure that's appreciated. Appreciated?
Yeah, so if you want to follow along or even read ahead, you can click the link and do
Heck
that.
yeah.
So, O'Grady likes to joke that I never am not working. It's
Are we going to put joke in quotes, or am I
he's
truly
mostly
concerned
serious.
sometimes?
I think he's mostly serious. You're mostly serious. Um, so yeah, I mean that's me. I'm just 100 miles an hour with my hair on fire, and I still don't think I'm going fast enough most of the time.
Mhm.
And I pretty much, I mean, I think I've always been that way. Like, I'm a very black and white person. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If
Yeah.
I'm not going to do something, then it's out and don't talk to me about it again. Um, kind of thing. Like, I've made a decision. I'm happy to explain it the first few times, but after that, I'm like, I'm done and I'm moved on now. Um,
Which is fair. I
I'm
mean,
way,
that's a common kind of mentality in IT, I feel. Whether it's good or bad, or whether it's for the best or not, it's fairly common.
yeah. Um, I mean, I'm way less black and white than I used to be, but still very black and white.
Yep.
I have learned as I've gotten older that life is not black and white. There's a whole lot of shades of gray, and difficulties in making decisions. It's not all crystal clear. You
I
should
heard there's
always
at
do
least
X.
50 shades, but that's
Yes.
just something my wife told me. I don't know.
Yeah. um. So because I'm always going 100 miles an hour with my hair on fire, to give you a little background about how I arrived at realizing that I was kind of burned out. I've always wanted to be uh, and tried to be a high impact person. I think most people who live in a Western world country, a first world country,
Yeah.
particularly in the Americas, North, Canada, that we we want to be high impact people. We have this idea of living the American dream, which,
Manifest destiny type, you know.
yeah, and honestly, um, requires hustle culture, I've heard. Um, so,
Not wrong.
um, by late, 2020, I was, living life, going about as fast as I possibly could, and doing way too many things. So I'm just going to tick off about 6 or 7 things here. I was trying to start an IT consulting business, working a full-time IT job, was studying for an IT certification. I was writing 2 blogs a week. I began answering questions on technical forums. I was dealing with the stress of a global pandemic. I moved out of the house I raised my kids in for 17 years, just one day after my birthday.
This is
No
why
big
we
deal.
were concerned about. You're like, I'm fine. It's like, well, you know,
Yeah, maybe you're not.
some
Um,
maybe in part of your brain you think that, which we all do at times, but
yeah. So this is like March of or April, May of 2021 when I wrote the blog post I put up here. But this is all stuff that's happening like throughout 2020 and then early 2021. I'm kind of reflecting on this. So yeah, I mean that's a lot of stuff. It's super stressful. Like I super attached to the house
mhm.
that I moved
Oh yeah,
out
I'm sure.
of. There's tons of memories there. Blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
that
people
alone,
don't realize that one, the stress of just moving in general sucks.
yeah,
Moving sucks. Everybody knows that. But two, when you've lived there for that long and you've made memories with children, with your children, and you've raised your family there, that's a whole different level of stress. It's not just the physical aspect of moving somewhere else. It's the emotional toll that you feel like you're leaving memories behind. And I get you.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I was pretty excited and full steam ahead on all that stuff for a whole bunch of months in 2020. So in December of 2020, I took vacation time for the last 2 or so weeks of that year. And leading up to that, I thought, man, I'm gonna rock vacation like only Lee Markham can. I'm going to get so much stuff done for myself and for my business. I'm going to blog like crazy. I'm going to do all the things. That didn't happen.
No.
Um, I was also so what I discovered was on those first few days of vacation, I was exhausted. I could not make myself do anything I had planned for. And I was like, man, what is wrong with me? Like, there's nothing left. I don't have any motivation. I have all this stuff. I have all this stuff to do, and I can't do any of it. And you've heard the phrase about burning the candle at both ends.
Yes.
That doesn't even begin to describe me, man. I was taking a blowtorch to the whole candle.
You just took it right
Um,
to the middle of the candle, and you're like,
yeah, I
screw it.
mean, just the
Yeah.
whole thing's engulfed in flame.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I realized. I'm like, well, I'm going 100 miles an hour. Like I can't sustain that. Um, I was mentally spent. You know.
Now, what was your pivot point or your turning point whenever that made you realize that? Like, what was? Because I know you do it for so long, and you feel like for a long time, at least for me, for a long time, you feel like I can sustain this pace, but there's always
Right.
something that's like, no, you can't. Like, there's a wall or a. Sometimes it's not even anything big. It's like the straw that breaks the camel's back kind of thing. Do you have something that was
Yeah.
a pivot that turned you into the maybe I'm being, you know, too hard on myself or overworking myself?
Yeah. So, couple of things. It was so initially it was kind of what I just described. I thought I was going to go into vacation, and that first day, I had big plans, and I just was like, I don't think so. I was like, this is really weird. Like, I've been looking forward to vacation so I could work. And yes, that's how I think, people. Um,
But it was a not your current, not your normal job work. It was
Not my day job.
personal development type work.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was for the business I that I had created,
Mhm.
and so the more that went on, like 2, 3, 4 days into vacation, and I still don't have anything in the tank. I'm like, there's something wrong with me, um, because that's not normal. I mean, I
Not
could take a
normal
day or
for
two
you.
off.
Yeah.
Correct. It's not normal for me. I
Let's get
take
that out there.
a day or two off.
Yeah.
Yeah, not normal for me. And I'm like, there's like something's wrong. It's not. I'm not just. It's not just that I'm tired or I haven't slept well or whatever. Like something else is fundamentally off.
Yeah.
And I think I might be wrong about the timing, but I think at the time I was I was being mentored over email by a, a person who's very SQL famous, and
Okay.
he around that time was sharing with me in the email and publicly on Twitter that he felt like he was experiencing some some depression symptoms. And I thought, that's interesting. By now, I think we're into like January 2021, and I've just blown through my vacation, and I didn't do anything for the business,
Yeah.
and all the plans I had were just nothing. And I thought, am I depressed? Is that what's wrong with me? Like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so the
Which
more
is
I
a,
pondered
also a
that,
completely normal thing in every field. I feel like that you know, need to keep an eye out. We're talking about burnout. We're
yeah,
talking about things that more work related, I think. But in general, depression can really sneak up on you, whether it be because of your job or because of your personal life or whatever's going on. Um, if
yeah,
if anybody does start feeling that in chat or watching YouTube, make sure you reach out and talk to someone. I've had, as a veteran, had a lot of buddies go through pretty hard depression times, and some of them not reaching out didn't make it back. So very important. Reach out if you do feel that way. Little PSA, but continue.
no,
There
it
you go.
actually
Yeah.
ties in great because I've been seeing a lot of posts about suicide prevention,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly with men, because we tend to not talk about anything.
Yes.
Stereotypically, we just hold it all in,
Bottle it up.
and the stereotype is there for a reason. Um, so absolutely, if you're struggling, click that link or call a friend, talk
Mm-hmm.
to somebody. Um, but yeah, I just kind of started asking myself questions like that. What's wrong with me? Why don't I have? What I not? What I didn't want? Why? Yeah. Let's try that again.
You Wario?
Why
Why
don't
you?
that? I don't know. That was a weird Southern twang thing that happened, and
Your Missouri caught on. I
anyway,
don't know.
I guess my family would tell me that's my Oklahoma accent
Or
kicking in.
Oklahoma. There you go. Yeah.
Um, I was just asking questions like, what is wrong with me? And this isn't normal behavior. This isn't. I don't have any motivation to do stuff.
Yes.
And then, like I said, the mentor expressed what he was going through, which made me ask myself the same question. And I just thought, I need to take a break somehow. I need to figure out how to stop going 100 miles an hour with the whole candle on fire. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't. It's not sustainable. Like you were talking about having a sustainable pace. Well, I didn't have one.
Yes.
Um,
And sustainable does
so
not mean go all out until you burn out for a month and then go all out again. I know people that sustain
right,
themselves that way, and I'm like, you're not sustaining. You're not healthy. Like it's a
yeah, you're
bad way to
getting
do it.
by.
Yes, you're doing your job. You're getting by. Probably overachieving, honestly. But you know, is it worth
Uh,
that month of burnout? And
yeah, exactly.
it's not is the answer. So
Yeah. Over one's ever described me as overachieving. Anyway, um, so here's some things that I did. I actually took a vacation from my problems. And yes, I said that on purpose for those of you who know what movie I'm talking about. Um, what about Bob, in case no one knew that
I did not know that.
or couldn't figure it out? You should look up Vacation from My Problems on YouTube. It'll be fantastic, hilarious laugh for you. Um, so, no writing blog posts. I'm not going to study for certifications. And I didn't really work on developing the business.
Mhm.
And this was kind of a decision I think I made in December, like mid
Okay.
December during the vacation. I'm like, something's wrong. I just kind of need to like lay off
Yep.
and chill. So I also, as I'm formulating a plan and asking questions about myself and how am I doing, I just decided I'm going to take a consistent day off. Like, who knew that was so important? Uh,
Who knew that weekends existed for a thing?
yeah. Um, so, I mean, for a few weeks in 2020, I was getting up at 7:30 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday to
Oh
start
yeah.
working the business and blogging and business strategy. And I'd work, 4 or so hours every Saturday and Sunday morning. Would take a break, go do something else, and then I would be back at it. So, some years ago, I had two jobs and I had only 2 days a month off.
Oof. Including
Two
weekends.
Yeah, that's
So just
including week, like
two.
the whole 30 days. I had 2 days a month where I didn't work either job. And this is what it felt like. I mean, I
Yeah.
remembered the feeling. I was like, this is it. And I thought about how I came about getting out of that and how refreshing that was. It was kind of scary at the time.
Oh yeah.
It was scary for my wife because the story is that I, I had I had some money from the passing of my father. This is like 2006,
Okay.
and my wife is working part time at a big box retail store that we would all know if I named it.
Okay.
But she's a temp person. She's not even a part timer. Like she's temp in the spring. And I came to her one day and I said, I'm quitting my second job. She's like, what?
She's like, so does that mean I'm starting a new job?
She was like, my job is only temporary.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Like, what if they don't hire me? I said, well, if they don't hire you, I have X weeks of salary, and I'm going to take those weeks, and then I'll go back to work if I have to.
Yeah.
Um, as it
Which
turned
we
out,
can also discuss at a later date how important it is to have those X weeks of salary available, um,
yes, yeah,
so that if anything does happen, or if you have a burnout that you can't put off for later, and you need to do it, having a little cushion is very important uh, in your mental health. Honestly.
absolutely. It was very helpful to do that. Otherwise, I would have just kept working endlessly.
Yes.
Um, so, being the brilliant people that the big box retail place was, they hired my wife permanently. And
Oh,
I said,
perfect.
see, they loved you. And I didn't have to go back to working the second job. And I remember how relieved I was and how much of a difference it made in me. And I was comparing that to where I'm at now in, late December 2020, early 2021.
Mhm.
I'm thinking I need to do this. I'm back where I was before. And so I decided that I was going to take off all day on Saturdays,
Okay.
which meant it didn't mean I wasn't going to be on the computer, but it did mean I wasn't going to blog. I wasn't going to do research related to my day job or to the business. There
Yeah.
was no business activity happening on Saturday. And you won't be surprised about this, O'Grady, when I say it, but it was really weird at first. Like
Was
I
it
had to,
was it stressful at first?
um, it wasn't, I mean, maybe you might describe it as stressful. It was just like, um, there was relief, but also it was like on some days I like had to make myself not do work
Yes.
and remind myself I'm not going to go work.
And remind yourself
I might,
why you're not going to work or why you're not working. Not
yeah,
just
for
I can't
sure.
work today. It's this is my reasoning on why, because I have to tell myself that kind of stuff. Like I have to reason with myself. Like I can't do this today. In my brain I'm like, yeah, you can. I'm like, no, I can't mentally do this today. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um, but I just needed downtime, and that's what I
Mhm.
would remind myself when I felt like I needed to go to work. I was like, no, I can't do that. I need to force myself to relax, to not work.
Yeah.
And if that means I'm bored a little bit, okay, that's better than burning out
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'd
and
much
or
rather boredom
continuing.
than, you know, burnout. Boredom
Yeah,
over burnout. It's a new shirt.
yeah. And the other thing that happened was I refocused my certification efforts. So I certifications, boy, we could talk for several streams about that, but I had bounced back and forth between the what's the 70-764 SQL Server certification, which I think is T-SQL and database certification mixed together, if
Is
I
that the one that
remember correctly.
I think Anthony got that one, right?
I think so.
And I think
Maybe.
someone else we were working with that was under me was going for it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I,
yeah, I
yeah,
think it was.
I don't remember, but it was a T-SQL certification that was offered by Microsoft. It's not offered anymore. But I had been studying for the AZ900, which is Azure Fundamentals,
Yeah.
and I switched to the 764 because the deadline was coming up and they weren't going to have it anymore.
Yeah, like Liam just said, it's not. Yeah, no longer.
Yeah,
They're
can't get
discontinued at
that
this
one.
point. Yeah.
Correct. So, um, in early mid January, I switched back to the AZ900. So I've taken December off, and I realize I don't have nearly enough time to get the 7-764.
And yeah,
So
those
I
are
switched back.
very time intensive as well. They're not just like go
Oh
take
yeah,
this cert. It's like no, here's like 100 hours. Like yeah, easily.
yeah, it's a lot of study.
Hmm.
Um, and so I went back to the AZ900. 3 weeks later, so in early March, I passed the AZ900. 3 weeks later, I passed the DP900, which is the data fundamentals for Azure.
Okay.
And at that time, I had started working on the DP300 because I thought, it's me, why not?
Yeah,
Um,
it would be with that. That's a logical next step, I guess you would say,
it is,
for
yeah,
for you at least.
yeah. For me, for
Yeah.
my career path, that's the logical next step. I didn't get the DP300, by the way. That's a story for another time. So I refocused my certification efforts. That was one of the things that changed. I deprioritized my business.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's really a bad idea for your business. It means it takes longer to get somewhere. But I had to. I mean, I was working myself to death, blogging and doing all kinds of stuff to try to launch this thing by myself. And I just had to come to grips with, it's not the end of the world if I don't work on the business for a while.
Exactly. Yeah.
Here we are. It's 2 years later almost, and guess what? the business is taking more steps forward, but I still don't have customers yet. Um, but my point about that is it's okay. Like it's 2 years later.
Oh, good news.
Deprioritizing the business back then didn't hurt.
I no longer have a hard cutoff, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Deploy just got canceled.
Oh, okay.
Look at that how you will. Good news or bad news. I'll find out later why. But
Um, so yeah, from like March of 2020 to December 2020, I've been working really hard on business plans and talking to friends and in and out of the tech industry to kind of get input.
mhm.
I think October I incorporated the business, and it's just Lee Markham LLC, meant to be a SQL Server database consulting company, and um, I paid a web developer to do a little bit of work on the website, which I just had redone again, by the way. And yeah, it was just a lot of work, and I thought, I just can't keep this pace. Um, so the business went on hold for a little bit. I needed to get some other things right. I needed to recoup and rest.
Yeah.
So
And that's fair to say to yourself too. I think that's
yeah,
kind of one of the points you're getting to or getting at is, you're allowed to set your own pace. Like you're also allowed
yeah,
to pull back once you set your own pace. If you set your pace at 100 miles an hour and you feel like it's not going the way you want it to, or you feel burnout, you can step back to 60 miles an hour and be like, we're still going to get there at a slower pace, but at a more comfortable, healthier pace.
yeah,
And, that's usually just better. Like, we've talked about on the stream, um, we can go and tell everybody, get everybody know to follow the channel. And I would love people to come follow, but we want people to follow that actually want to participate, that want to be part of the community and actually chat and talk to us. And it's a slower pace to do it that way, but it's a more healthier pace when it comes to the community, when it comes to building, in your case, a career or job outside of your normal job. It's a lot more
yeah,
sustainable. I feel like if you do it in a healthier manner than a full force, everything has to happen right away. Um, Full
yeah.
burnout, go down like a shooting star.
Full
Brilliant, but
burnout mode.
not very long. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the other decision I made for a while was there would be no blogging or technical forums. Like I wasn't going to do any of that stuff either.
Yeah.
Um, and this kind of happened unintentionally initially until I realized it was a good thing, and then I just kind of decided to do it. Um, people hang out on blogs or hang out on forums because they have questions.
Yep.
They need to solve a work problem, and I was hanging out there to try to help people answer those questions and get help. Um, but yeah, I just kind of didn't do it for a while, and then I realized that was probably a good thing, so I just kept not doing it.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
Again, I feel like you say this, or you may have been looking at that in a way at the time as maybe not as positive as you can looking back at it. Um,
yeah,
it's difficult to be like, I'm going to do this in this way because it's healthier. In your brain, you're still saying, I still need to get things done. Like it's very hard to turn that off.
yeah,
But
for sure.
looking back, like hindsight, looking back, like I'm so glad I did that, or else, where would you be right now if you didn't cut your non-sustainable pace? So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, it's the stress level, it gets to be a problem not only for you, but the people that you live with. It gets to be or can get to be a problem at that level. It can get to be a problem for your day job.
oh yeah,
You've got nothing left to give your day job, which is what puts food on the table. And you lose that, then you really have a problem.
yeah. You think you're stressed when you're, you think you're stressed before. take your job out of the equation and see how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
for sure. So I do have, I don't want to drop into the chat. There's a couple of things. So at the end of my blog post, I always have this next steps to take part.
okay.
And so what it has in this case is, number one, assess your well-being. Think really deeply and long about how am I truly doing,
Yeah,
and be honest, as honest as you can with yourself. And again, ask someone else that question. How am I doing? How am I? Tell me how I'm doing. I
yeah.
think I'm doing okay. And they'll be like, if I'm talking to my spouse, like, no, hon, your whole candle's on fire, bud. You got to calm down.
Your whole room's on fire. Just
Yeah. You're
yeah.
burning your life to the ground. We're like,
Yes.
oh, really? Okay. Maybe I'm not doing as well as I thought.
Or
Um,
at least for me, if I reflect off someone else, a lot of times I'll feel like I'm getting nothing done. That's why I'm pushing so hard. That's why my pace is so fast. I feel like I'm not getting enough done that I want to get done. And then my wife
yeah.
would be like, knock it off. You're doing way too much. You're accomplishing like household stuff, you know. Um,
Yeah.
she'd be like, you need to sit down, take a break, and not do anything this weekend, or you need to stop working on whatever project you're on and, give it a day or two. She's like, because you're doing so much stuff that I feel like nothing's getting done. But you reflect off someone else and they're like, no, you're killing it, but like, you need to slow down a little.
Yeah. So I love the question, Liam. And so this is a battle. This burnout thing is a constant battle for me. Um, and I'm actually uh, struggling a bit with it over the last few weeks for a number of reasons. And I have a ton of things to be thankful for. Um, I'm getting to speak at the world's largest SQL Server conference.
Yeah.
Um, Years before I thought that was even a possibility. I am beyond grateful. I was recently, oh, I wish I had the link. I could probably find it. I was just named to the Redgate 100 list of in the people to watch
Oh,
category.
hell yeah.
That was made public today.
Awesome.
Uh,
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. If you go look at that list, I mean, there are some world famous SQL people on that list. Not in my category,
Well,
obviously.
yeah,
They're
because
already
you're on
famous.
there. So.
Uh,
I,
yeah,
but a year or 2 years from now, we might be looking at that list, and people will be looking and seeing Lee Markham and being like, "Dude, I'm on the same list as Lee Markham." And yeah, you laugh, we laugh, but like at the same time,
yeah,
that's how we've always looked at you. If I had a problem in
yeah.
date, I went to you. It was like, I don't know. That's
And I appreciate that. It's been an interesting journey. So I am reflecting, and I hope I'm answering your question, Liam. So I have a lot to be thankful for. But again, like I alluded to earlier, the business still isn't off the ground, really. It's just me. And I have like a bajillion, however many things that is, that I could do.
mhm.
And it's just too much. Like sometimes I feel really overwhelmed by that. And I just don't know where to start. So I don't do anything.
Analysis
And
paralysis.
yeah, or it's to some degree, but I noticed this would happen to me years ago at one of my early jobs where I would just be overwhelmed by all of the to-dos that I knew were up here, things that I needed to do in my day job,
Yeah,
and I'm the only person who can do them because I'm the only person in my role.
yeah.
And um, I would sit at my desk sometimes for 5 or 10 minutes and just stare because I couldn't do anything. I was too overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And
What's up, Dunce?
so, but recently, I've reached out to a number of people that I've connected to on LinkedIn. And those folks are helping analyze the business for me. And, um, and I'm grateful for them. There's there are several people. I'm so tempted to name them, but um, there's one person in particular. I've been watching her live streams. She's streaming every day in September, and maybe I missed it today. I don't know, but she's so encouraging to watch and to listen to, and I've had good
think
interactions with her. It's
I
been
think you
really
can give
encouraging.
a I think you can give a shout out without an issue there. It's up to
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I
I don't know.
can. I just, um, yeah, okay. So the person who's live streaming every day in September, who's been really encouraging to me recently, her name is Katie McManus.
Okay.
And so,
What platform?
if you, this is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So let me drop her name in here.
Oh, go
So
too
Katie
loud there.
McManus on LinkedIn. The person who's analyzing my business, the company name is Bonbon Strategic. Uh, and I also came across that company on LinkedIn. That's interestingly enough, Kate Lingoni. I hope I'm saying her name right, her last name. So the Kates are interesting. Yes, that's her.
There you go.
That's Katie McManus. Um, and I'm doing like live streaming on LinkedIn. So I'm not just live streaming on Twitch. Like recently, I've used StreamYard to live stream on LinkedIn. And another person who I watch or I read their post on LinkedIn is Leah Turner, and she's a huge person in the UK for LinkedIn help. And she was talking on video recently, and she was talking about how sometimes you just need to do it scared.
Yeah.
You're uncomfortable, but just do it. It's never going to feel right. Usually, you just got to try it. And I'm a person who likes to feel comfortable before they do something.
That's
So
a pretty
it
that's
feels
pretty standard. But
it's really, yeah, but O'Grady,
Mhm.
some people are risk takers. They're like,
Yeah.
uh, you can tell them go take that mountain, and they don't do any planning. They just rush the mountain.
I think
And you're
that's
like,
learned
whoa, hold on.
though. I think like
What?
I would say I'm that way. Okay. I'm the kind of person that if someone says go do this that you're not comfortable with and actually have no clue how to do, I'm usually the person that would be like, okay, let's go. Now, in
Mm,
my head, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not okay with it.
uh,
But
okay.
I learned a long time ago that it's not about, you know, the comfort of it. It's the end result of will this make me better? And if the answer is
Yeah.
yes, then I'm going to figure out how to do it. Which
Yeah.
often can lead to burnout if I'm if I'm being honest.
It
That's
can.
probably a reason that can lead to a big portion of my burnout.
Yeah.
But
But I'm also learning that same lesson. Like, it's okay to do things and be uncomfortable.
mhm.
It drives me, like, I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's so foreign to me. But, um, I, it's interesting. I'm really good with databases, with SQL Server specifically. But man, if you give me something else, like, there are certain things, like, I look at it and like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And it's tech stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no. And
How
I
are
don't even
you
mean like,
with the speaking side of it? I know, like, you have these big conferences coming up, and as your career, sorry, I lost video for a second. As your career progresses, you're going to have more speaking roles. Are you comfortable doing that, or is that something you push yourself into?
so it's something I push myself into. Like, what we're doing now is okay.
Hmm.
Um, you're going to remember this. So at the beginning, before we ever got on, O'Grady, what did I say to you about? I wish I had outlined
Yeah, like I
something.
wish I outlined my whole thing so I can have a. I'm like, we'll wing it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
That
So
shows
I'm
the two different
already
personalities. I think that'll be fine.
exactly. Um, and it has turned out fine. But I like to plan and I like to have steps for things and
Yep.
and all of that. And so when I don't have that, I'm really uncomfortable. The speaking thing, the live stream is easier because I don't. It's interesting. I want the outline, but at the same time, um, I'm having to get comfortable with the outline in the sense that I feel tied to it.
Yeah.
Or like if I'm doing PowerPoint, for example, which is what I'm doing with the past presentation and other things, I have to practice that thing to death because
Yeah.
you don't, the way it works out, you don't really see the notes that you've put in your slides. You know, you have your PowerPoints over here and the rest of it's on another screen, and you can't be looking like this,
Yeah.
and reading your notes. So it makes me nervous. Like, am I going to remember to say all the stuff? Am I going to flub something up? But I just have to get comfortable with it. The next step for me in terms of presenting is presenting live,
Yeah.
and that terrifies me.
That's what I was curious about, because I know, like, we know this, the next presentations are going to be online, and which is awesome, but there is a big difference between what we're doing right now and being in front of 1,000 people. And yeah, it's I recently did a, well, I guess not recently anymore, 6 months ago, did a conference that I was the
Yeah,
MC. I
you
was the one
MC'd
on,
at something, right?
yeah. And everyone's like, "Oh, you did great. You're so comfortable up." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm faking it, 100%, faking it all the way. I am not comfortable standing on stage
Hearts
in front
pounding.
of, well, I have, I don't know, I forgot, I mean, 700, whatever it was, of my peers that I look up to. These are people that I respect, that I look up to, that I try to emulate. Some of them my mentors, and they're all looking at me. I'm like,
Yeah,
not comfortable at all. But you fake
yeah,
it, and eventually you keep faking it, and you get comfortable.
yeah.
Um,
So,
but yeah,
Liam, that's a long way of trying to answer your question about how am I doing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like Dunce was saying
That's
too, the notes are helpful. Kind of to glance at, to make sure you're on track. We've had plenty of these shows where we've had outlines
mhm,
that we've referred to. I think all three of us have at some point had outlines that we've set out,
yeah,
and it gives you
yeah,
that idea of like, oh, I'm halfway through my outline. We're halfway through the show. Okay, we're kind of on track. But
yeah, for sure.
you have to be comfortable modifying that outline on the fly. Questions come up, or someone wants to go more in depth to a topic that you weren't planning on going more in depth into. Um, so
Yeah,
like they're good to look at to make sure. Like you, coming back from a tangent, yeah, surprise. Like we don't have tangents on this show, but getting
yeah. We
back
never
on
get
track
derailed.
is always nice to have something
Yeah.
to help you. But
Speaking of which, I'm going to come back to my next steps to take. So I talked about assess your well-being, think deeply about how you're truly doing right now, which prompted Liam to ask me how am I doing. So thank you for that question.
very thoughtful as well.
Don't yes, don't be afraid to ask or seek professional help if you need that.
100%.
Um, it's it's there. I mean, therapy is a good thing. You need somebody to talk to that's outside of your circumstances that can help you look at things from an objective perspective. The link that I dropped in here is a YouTube video from a SQL famous person named Tracy Baggiano, and she has great information about her own story with mental health and things that she has battled through, steps she's taken, that sort of thing. Hi, kitty. I see the kitty.
I think she's about to jump. She gave up. Whatever. I figured she wanted to be on
Um,
camera because all I can hear is the scratching of the scratching post in my ears.
yeah, so I got two more things here. I'm gonna drop another link into the chat. This one is from Kendra Little. She is a SQL Server
I
Microsoft
know that
certified
name.
master.
I
That's
know
because she
that.
was associated with Brent Ozar. She
Okay.
and Brent Ozar and her partner, I don't know if they're married, doesn't matter. Jeremiah Peshka, Tim Ford, they started BrentOzar.com.
Okay.
and it was Brent Ozar PFLC or something. Their initials were in there.
Has she done
Um,
Pluralsight ever or classes in that capacity?
she's done stuff through Redgate,
Maybe Redgate.
like T-SQL training. He has a
Maybe
T-SQL
that's what it
beginners
was.
class. She
I know
also
the name. I don't know.
presented. Yeah, she presented at our first SQL Server meetup group. I was pretty excited. I was like, wow, Kendra Little is going to come to my meetup. I'm kind of starstruck. She's super nice. I talked with her later at the past later that year in a virtual room. Um, but check out that post. It's kind of advice she would give to herself, her 20-year-old, her younger self. And then she actually did her own article about burnout and talks about experiencing burnout and kind of what she did to address some of that stuff. And a lot of it revolves around, what I said. I mean, she said it better and different things because different things affected her. Um, that was totally self-deprecating, and I'm surprised you didn't call me out for that. Um,
Did you did you just post that twice, or did I post? No, you posted that. Okay,
um, that
whatever. It's fine.
is the same letter to my 20-year-old self.
Which is a great
Yeah, it didn't
type of
copy.
article as well. If anybody's ever thinking, uh, we talked about we talk about imposter syndrome like every freaking episode, but if anybody's ever really feeling that, sit down and write a letter to yourself when you first started your career, and think about how many tips you've learned, how many things you've learned, how many things you can tell people,
Yeah.
which yourself that early, and it really helps you kind of understand the growth process you've had and that you're not the same person when you started your IT career or whatever career you're in. I really like that kind of platform on how you can write to yourself in the past to show that. So that's cool.
Yeah, it really changes your perspective. I do that sometimes when I am discouraged about about I'm not making progress fast enough.
Yeah.
Um, I'll look back and say, but where'd I come from? Like
Yeah.
when I started, I didn't know I didn't even know what SQL Server was.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't write a query. Um,
When I met you, I could not write a query. So here we are.
uh,
that's how it goes.
yeah, and you learn and you look back and you think, wow, when you write that list that you're talking about, or you write that letter,
Hmm.
yeah, you realize I've made a lot of progress. I'm just not aware of it because now it's all just like second nature to me.
Yeah. Which is an amazing place to be, but you
Yeah,
lose sight of the fact that your second nature is someone else's end goal.
struggle.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like that's what they want to be at is the things you take for granted as, oh, well, that's just, do this. It's like, well, yeah, but people are learning to get to that point.
yeah. I follow a number of people who are early in their data analyst or data science type careers on LinkedIn, and they post a lot about, does anybody have any good links for learning T-SQL? Or they'll post about things they're learning about writing
Yep.
T-SQL. And I always encourage them. I give them other information, like other links about, here's where I would go if I was learning T-SQL today.
Hmm.
Or here's another great resource, which Kendra Little has one, by the way. Um, and I that's part of what I want to do with with the business, and just even if I don't make a dollar, I want to make money.
Yep.
But if I don't, like I want to be impactful, like I talked about earlier, and I want to help people who are at the beginning, or
Oh, yeah.
they're somewhere toward the beginning of their career. Um, but maybe they were like us or me specifically. I mean, I'm going to talk about something, and you tell me whether you relate or not. But like for me, I was, as I mentioned, I was the only person doing my role at my company, and if I couldn't figure it out, then it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I had online resources, but there was no person that I could interact with.
which
I
is a
didn't
rough place to
know.
be.
Yeah,
It's
it is. It's hard and
I've
it's
I've actually
discouraging.
turned down, not recently, but in the past, I turned down jobs in IT because there was no one to report to. And I hated the fact that I did it, but I'm so glad I did it because the stress
Yeah,
and the I feel like the burnout would be so fast because I would have to always be reaching outside the company or trying to figure out it, yes, it would build progress in my career, but at what cost to my mental health, to my physical health sometimes, staying up late working and not sleeping as
yeah.
much is just as bad for you as mental burnout. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, it's hard to be the only person. I have told many recruiters over the years when they call me about jobs. One of the questions I always ask now is there a team?
mm-hmm.
Is there another database administrator at this company? Um, because at this point in my career, I refuse to go to some place where I'm the only DBA. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
I don't plan to do that. It's too hard. In part because I'll give you a little piece of advice, and you could well, an observation, and Grady, you can tell me whether how you feel about this. Um, by the time the observation is this, by the time a company realizes, um, heck no, dunce. Um,
Unless it's my own. But
by by the time a company realizes that they need to hire DBA, they should hire two DBAs.
yeah, that's fair. I can see
I
that. I
don't know if
mean,
that works for software
it
engineers,
100% does.
but
Yes. There's no reason a company should ever have one software engineer. Bad idea. If you're gonna hire, at least hire two, and be because not only for bouncing ideas off each other, code reviews, peer editing, that kind of stuff, but for the fact that if you really need a software engineer, then you need two because one might be on vacation for a week, one might be have a wedding to go to in the middle of the week or something, whatever comes up. If
yeah,
you need that role, you need to always have someone in that role. So
yep,
I 100% agree.
yeah,
Now, that's a lot more, that's easier to say than it is for a company sometimes to do. Um, IT is a higher paying salary type job. And if a company can't afford two, they might have to start off with one. But I would rather
yeah,
two junior devs than one senior dev as far as salary and workload and everything goes. I'd rather have two
yeah,
fresh engineers or devs, whatever you want to call them, instead of one guy making a lot that
hmm
isn't there every single day reliably. Which is everybody. We're never, none of us are there every single day reliably. That's just
no,
life.
no. It's just that's not going to happen. People get sick. They have family members who get sick or need them,
Or hell, we're
and
in we're in freaking COVID times. It's
that too.
within the past 2 months, I've had at least, let's see, I think 3 people on my team have had COVID. And,
Wow.
luckily they're all fine. Nothing super major, but enough to take them out for a couple days, a week. And it's like, that's the times we live in. Everybody's cool about it. We all help each other get through it so we don't have to carry too much workload. But, that's it is the
If
fact of
that's
life
your
right now.
only person, if that's your only person, then you're hosed.
Yep. Yep. Or if even, I mean, a lot of times, even if you have two, if one's out for a week, you have to remember the stress of dealing with two jobs on one person now.
Yeah.
Um, also one should be rewarded in some manner. I think we've talked about that before. Of if you're overworking someone, make sure they're compensated in some manner. Take a couple free days off or whatever you want to do, but uh,
Right. Yeah.
it takes its toll.
Uh, I found the Redgate 100, so I'm gonna drop it in here
Heck
to
yeah.
our chat. So that was it. Assess your well-being. Don't be afraid to speak or seek out professional help.
Yep.
Watch a presentation from Tracy Baggiano, a couple of posts from Kendra Little to add to what I'd already said. Yeah, that's my next steps. If you're experiencing burnout, look at those things and take some action. Do something about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and that's again, congratulations on the Redgate 100. That's very cool.
It is
I think
cool.
to be on any 100 list is just, that's a goal in general, and for it to be in your job field and your what you do makes it even that much, more important or more special. So that's cool.
Yeah, thanks. Do we have some? Do you have more questions? Do you want more? You want to explore? Do we want to raid someone? What are we doing?
I'm down for whatever. I'd like to hear Dunce. I know you've had burnout, but just anybody in chat want to talk about any kind of burnout, or if you're on YouTube, leave some comments. What's caused you burnout in the workplace, and how have you managed it, or have you not managed it? Are you currently burned out? I mean, it happens. I can go over, the fact that I've been getting ready for a baby, so my off time is not my off time. I get off work,
Yay!
I do work. And I mentioned earlier, my wife was like, "You need to knock it off. You need to sit down and relax." Um, I get to that point where I'm pacing, looking for something to do. If I kind of like you were talking about, where there's this list of 100 things you have in your head that need to get done, but I'll
Yeah.
sit in the kitchen, I'll walk around the island like 5 times trying to figure out what actually to do next.
Wow.
And she's like, "You
Yeah.
should probably just sit down. That's what you should do next." I'm like, "Yeah, it's probably true." Um, so this
Yeah.
past week, this past week to 2 weeks, I've been trying to prioritize projects better, because there are things that there's no choice. We need to get done. I have to get
Sure.
the nursery done by January. That's just the facts of life. But there's a lot of projects that I don't have to get done. I can
Mm-hmm.
steadily do them, and they'll get done, but I don't have to get them done this weekend. So, you can remind yourself,
Right.
baby steps, or taking small bites of stuff is still getting things done without overburdening yourself or feeling like you're getting burnt out. Um, and one of my things is playing disc golf. I try to play disc golf once a week. It's a couple hours. It's about 3 or 4 miles per round.
Wow.
So
Okay.
depending on the course, I guess. But you get your steps in, you exercise, fresh air, clear your brain a little bit. Um, but it also gives me an outlet for, it's a fairly physical sport as far as throwing and that kind of stuff, and like I said, walking gives you a little bit of outlet to relieve some of that stress. Um, and this weekend I got a tournament, so hopefully that goes well for me. But I try not to stress about it, because then I'm like, I can't stress about the thing that's supposed to be my stress reliever.
Relaxation.
Yes. I was actually going to go to the St. Louis Open next week, which is the pro disc
Oh,
golf, and I told my wife I'm not
disc
going to do it
golf
this year.
they have a pro version of disc golf?
Oh yeah, disc golf's
I
huge.
never
They just
even
had,
heard of disc golf until recently.
oh yeah, they just had the world's disc golf tournament last week. Paul
Really?
Macbeth won, and
Interesting. Okay.
did an awesome job. Yeah, but no, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars for people who do good at disc golf.
Wow. Okay.
Sponsorships, and
Hundreds of
most,
thousands of dollars, you say. Maybe I need to change my career again.
you know, if I was actually good at it, maybe I would. But I'm hoping to come like in the middle of the pack
Mm-hmm.
this weekend, but I play for fun. But
Yeah.
my son is actually getting really good. Those Dunce has played video games with him. Most people online know him as Jester, but
Yeah.
he is starting to get really good, and he goes out and plays with me when I go out about once a week.
Nice.
And he's about 11, so he's at the age where he can pick stuff up really fast and
Yeah.
get really good at it really fast. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe one day you'll be paying for my cars. That's fine. I'll be your caddy, whatever.
Cool for him. Yeah,
But yeah, and then we're
that's
gonna
great.
get in a father son tournament here this fall. There's one coming up. So,
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Okay, cool.
and I was thinking about live streaming a round one of these weekend. Maybe I'll do it this weekend. Maybe not at a tournament though. Maybe next weekend. But one of these weekends, I was thinking about just keeping my camera on because you can
Mm-hmm.
stream to Twitch from your phone, and
Oh, yeah, that's true.
just recording around, kind of talking to chat and stuff while I'm going through and kind of explaining the sport because, like I said, it's my off time. It's what gives me some relaxation in life and helps me keep from burning out. So maybe
Yeah,
someone else can get into it and feel the same.
yeah, for sure. We
And
all
then
need something that's relaxing.
Dunce was talking about medical issues,
Mm-hmm.
sleep apnea, um, yeah, office politics. That's a whole episode right there. How to deal with office politics, and
Yeah, it is. We should write that down. We should use that.
put
Write that
that
down.
in.
Like we're not in the digital age. I'm
We
old
should
if you can't tell.
we should put that on a sticky. No.
Put that on a
But yes,
sticky. That's
I
awesome.
say that, but I literally have like so many sticky notes around here. Like
Well, that's because, well, I started to say it's because of
this
the agile thing, but it's probably not
this
now.
is my favorite. If no one has one of these,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Nice.
sticky note book. It mostly
Yeah.
is for the agile stuff because sticky notes are awesome.
Yeah.
Yo, Spirit came just in time for the wrapping up of the show.
Hey,
hopefully,
Spirit.
hopefully work and everything's been going well. I know you haven't been able to join as much due to your scheduling, but we were just talking about burnout and what causes it. So hopefully you're not getting burnt out.
Let's
Hopefully
hope not.
everything's going well. Um, yeah, I mean I can find someone to rate if we. I don't know if you had any more. If you had any more points on yours.
If you need panic when you miss. Um, no, I really don't. That was pretty much the story, that I wanted to tell. Just share a little bit about myself and what my experience with burnout, kind of what I did, just making sure that I didn't work 7 days a week. That was a pretty obvious but huge step for me. Um, yeah, and just making some tough decisions about backing off from the business, and kind of reevaluating goals and priorities. As you talked about earlier, get there at um, 50 miles an hour a year later
Mm-hmm.
instead of going 100 miles an hour until you don't get there at all because you crash into a wall.
Not
Yeah.
lying. Yeah, that's. I feel like that's such a big takeaway. Is it's okay to slow down. And we on this channel we push so much for advance your career. Make sure you're putting time in for yourself to get better at your career. Learn off time when you're not working. Make sure you're doing stuff on your off time to learn. Now, we say all this as I mean it all. You should, but at a
Yeah.
sustainable pace. Don't
Right.
burn yourself out by just trying to advance your career because then you're going to end up at a standstill. Um, or you
Yep.
might end up in a place where you're saying, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to advance my career anymore, or I'm not going to be in this career anymore. I need to get out of this. Like, because you feel
Yeah.
like all of that stress is your career, when in reality, a lot of that is self deprecating. It's you brought it on
Can
to
be.
yourself. It can be. No, I'm not going to say that
Yeah.
our job is not stressful anyway, but IT tends
Yeah.
to be a higher stress job. So it's very
It
easy
does.
to go over the pinnacle of too stressed. Um,
Yeah. So that
there's
actually
plenty
triggered
of normal stress.
an additional thought. So are you aware, O'Grady, of the trend of teachers, public school teachers, getting into IT?
I'm not.
It's a
I'm all
thing,
down for it.
and and to some degree, I've heard that they're doing it to get away from all the extra hours, and
Okay.
I get that, and I've never been a public school teacher, so I can't speak to what the stress level is like.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason I wouldn't would be a public school teacher. I could not put up with the children. I mean, as
It's
being
fair.
honest, I couldn't do that. Like,
Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. You know, that's
um, not day in and day out, and not in the scenario we have now, where not only do I have the responsibility of teaching the children, but I also have to keep them safe in case someone with a gun decides to show up
yeah.
and do things they shouldn't do. So just couldn't do it. But it's interesting to me that a lot of those teachers are transitioning to IT. Um, and I get it because a lot of their skills will translate.
Hmm.
Public speaking and preparing and studying and all of those things. A lot of math teachers
Critical
get into,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah, they get into data analysis. They get
Yeah.
into SQL and data analysis and that sort of stuff. And that part makes sense. But I just hope that they like they either figure out how to set a boundary where they don't do what they did when they were a school teacher and work themselves to death anyway,
Yeah.
uh, because that's what IT is sometimes.
No, yeah, 100%. That's and it's I would say it's 100% dependent on you, but it's also 100% dependent on the job you choose, the
Yeah,
company you choose to be with, where you choose to stay. So it's still on you, but you're the places you work can make that choice for you. Um,
yep, absolutely.
we've discussed in the past of good management versus bad management, good company culture versus not good company culture. Um,
Yeah,
and a lot of that totally just plays right into your stress levels of being there. Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
And a lot of
that's
those teachers are leaving because they're burned out. They're
yeah,
and they're coming to IT, and I'm like, are you? Did you
yeah,
really think that through? Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I hope it goes well for them, but not sure.
yeah. And again, I've never been a school teacher,
Yeah,
but
no parents to deal with.
man, that right there probably is enough for him to leave. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like every time I talk to my teachers, my kids' teachers, they're always like relieved that me and my wife are like normal people. Where if like he does something wrong, I say to my son, fix yourself, not to the teacher, fix yourself.
Right. Yeah,
I'm like, nah, he messed up. He's in trouble, not you. Like you're a teacher. Like you just make sure he's
yeah,
safe and that he learns. That's all I care.
yeah, for sure.
Like behavior wise, I will help correct him. I am his parent. I will make sure that gets done. I feel
Yeah,
like
for
teachers are
sure.
always like it's a an uncommon thing now that parents take the responsibility for their kids, and I'm like, yeah, hopefully one day it's common again, but
Hopefully, hopefully.
we'll see. But yeah, I think this is something that we can. I'd like to hear more about in the Discord as well. You know, because this is we talked about mental health. Make sure that you're talking. You know, if you are feeling burnt out, make sure it's being addressed in one way or another. Um, you know, if you're feeling depression, like we talked about at the very beginning of the show, um, you know, suicide awareness is huge. Make sure you're talking about it. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it to a friend or a family member, professional help is it's online now. Like you can do this right here with a professional that is
Yeah,
in a different state. I know a lot of this is, you know, the culture we live in. It's not. It's getting better, but it's not as acceptable for especially men to reach out and say I need help.
Yeah.
So even if you're feeling like that, you can reach out to someone in a different state and say, "Hey, I need help, professional uh, counseling or whatever you want to call it,"
Hmm.
and not know the person, never interact with them in real life outside of your counseling sessions, and maybe that helps bridge that gap of um, better help. Yeah, Spirit talking about better help. I've seen that one. But yeah, no, there's zero. I hope that the stigma goes away. I do.
Yeah.
But for a while, it's still going to be there, and it's only up to us to help it go away. That's the only way the stigma will go away is if we talk about it, if we make it, we normalize it, and we understand that we're all messed up in some way. It's just human nature. Our brains are not perfect. We've all gone through different traumas, or
Yeah.
even if you feel your trauma is lesser than someone else's, your trauma is your trauma. Your trauma is the worst part of whatever your life has been so far. So
Yeah.
don't compare it to anybody else's. Compare it to yourself. Look and
Yeah.
reflect on yourself and say, do I need to talk to someone? If you do, talk to someone. And
Yeah.
even if you don't,
Sure.
go talk to someone. Like, it doesn't hurt. But yeah, and dunce, good call. Mental health covered by most insurances. Um, if there's a paid site that you want to use, or a local professional that you want to use, most insurances are pretty good about making sure your mental health is good nowadays. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to bring that into the Discord, and maybe we'll have a check-in channel or something like that. Just
Yeah.
make sure
Maybe we
everybody's
could. Yeah, we could.
and it's when we're about out of time here, but the one of those things too is, I don't know if we've talked about it or if we haven't, but about toxic positivity. I don't know if you've heard that before, but about always portraying yourself as positive
Yeah.
and always portraying yourself as nothing's wrong. Huge issue
So
with
bad.
that is everybody around you thinks, well, I'm having a bad day. He never has bad days. So something's wrong with me. Everybody has bad days. Some are just better at
Yeah.
masking it. And I don't even know if you want to say better. It's some mask it, some don't.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Um, yeah, Spirit, anybody can always DM me too. If they have any issues or whatever, I'm always open to talk. On the off stream, obviously. Yeah.
Yep.
Any follow ups or closing arguments here? Arguments, closing thoughts. I feel like the
Closing
arguments with
arguments.
me. Yeah.
I'm on trial. Someone is. No. Um, yeah, we want to wrap up. Maybe look for somebody to raid. I actually do have my own maintenance to do. It starts in 34 minutes that will not get canceled. So I want some downtime for that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I just want people to realize, burnout's real, depression is real, like we talked about already. You can do some things about it. Talk to someone, take steps to protect your well-being for
Yeah,
sure.
100%. We are going to raid Major Linux again. We've raided them multiple times, but great channel to hang out in if you ever want to just chill and hang out.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh yeah, but last thought while this raid's about to go through is like what Dunce was saying. It it made him
Oh
feel
yeah.
wrong for being anxious because yeah. So keep that in mind as well. But yep. So bring this all to Discord. If you are not in the Discord, there is the link, and everybody else go check out Major Linux. Drop them a follow. If you're not following us already, you better drop us a follow. And we will catch y'all next week.
All right.
I'm
Bye,
O'Grady.
everybody. Thank you. I'm Lee.
We will see you guys later.